Satnam. I'm Lillian Savoy here with Siri Bahadur, and we today are going to talk all about your destiny and Shunya, if you've heard of Shunya before. But really, I just felt the need to have someone that has practiced this since the 60s, right? And you are in my eyes, you are a master guru that can just teach us and share your wisdom today. And I feel like with this new moon energy that I really need to just be the curious student here and let you have the floor. And whoever is listening is going to also just, really accept and receive this wisdom about our destiny, because we just get in our head. I have no idea what that means some days. And so I would love to introduce you as a yogi, a teacher, a friend, and tell us something else about you that we need to know.
Yeah, let's just jump into just one aspect of destiny, and this is what's been coming up in classes and meditation and thinking and just contemplating, is that destiny puts in front of us that which we need to see, that which we need to investigate, and so we think that we can just sidestep all the unpleasant work, that we can just magically enlighten, which, it's like, I know there are stories of gurus that can do that for a person, but by and large, for most of us, we just have to go through the process of figuring out what we're thinking about most of the time, what we believe, and what we expect. And because those facets of our creativity and our intellect draw to us that what we think about, what we believe, and what we expect. And those are programmed. They're programmed into the intellect, or to the analytical mind, or what sometimes is known as the egocentric mind. And so with mind, we have analytical and intuitive, and we tend to rely on the analytical more because everybody else does.
Yeah, and we are in a world right now where it is a lot of ego driven instead of spirit driven, because if you're spirit driven, you might be weird or different or have a smaller circle of friends or not allowed to talk about certain things. Right. And I experienced that in my own household, because I announced last night, you'll appreciate this. I announced last night to my husband and my son, we were just eating dinner, and I said, okay, so next week I'm dying and I'm going to be reborn on a Wednesday. And they said, what? And I was like, I'm doing a living funeral with my friend Natalie, who is a yogi, and she's been on the podcast. And she told me all about this living funeral. And I said, I have to do this. I have to die in January and come back to life. Because before I celebrate my 50th. And my son goes, can you just be normal? I said, I'm sorry. I can't. It is impossible for me to be normal. And I said, but you guys will be able to see my tombstone and my obituary, and then we can celebrate life after I die. So
and
to
they're
your
going,
point,
where are we again?
yeah, where are we again? I'm just trying to eat dinner here and mom's being all weird. But to your point, I mean, it really is hard to step out of the box and feel different and to do those, uncomfortable things that bring us into our divine self instead of our ego self. So anyway, back to you, but I wanted to tell you that because you might have some insight on that.
Well, that would be an interesting experience, I'm sure. Yeah, it's like we're trained. This is interesting. What you're talking about is like there's this whole anti-woke movement going on. It's like it to me, I look at that as like an outer directive for us all to go back to sleep.
I don't really understand that movement. What is the? I mean, in your opinion, why is that even happening? The anti-woke, like.
Well, because being woke is a thing of, just expanding and being okay with interacting with other races, other religions, other orientations in general. Like the people that are fighting the wokeness are looking for a very small set of norms, ways of thinking, of being, and acting, and it for someone that. I don't know. I don't want to get too political with all of this,
Yeah,
but
we'll skip some of that. But I mean, it's interesting to see. Like, I think you're right. It's a closed group rather than an open group or an accepting group, and we all have to try and be more open and accepting on any level that we can be.
Yeah, and it's kind of like trying to put the genie back in the bottle.
It's not happening.
Once you have awakened to the unity of life. Then you could force yourself to go back to sleep, but it would,
you might die.
Having it, you might die.
You might die.
But it's like, yeah, I keep going back in classes and in thinking and meditating, that the whole cosmos is composed of electrical particles magnetically aligned and influenced by thought, by brain waves. And originally it was universal mind or divine mind that provided the stability, like the graduated stability of created life over time to what we see today, and we don't know where it's going. But to investigate that, it's like when you do yoga and you're tuning in, you're rubbing your palms together, and do it for 20, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever, so that you can feel the electrical vibration of your nervous system and your electric system. And then when you play with the distance between the hands, you get the sense of attracting and repelling forces of that electric field. And so it's acknowledged now that the cosmos and even quantum physics, and I don't understand physics at all, but I get the sense of this quantum field of vibrating electricity, magnetically aligned, and in the process of meditating, opening to that field, and allowing the intuitive mind to come in to get a sense of the consciousness that holds all the electricity in the cosmos in equilibrium across an infinite range of frequencies to create matter, right? And so, like the meditators and scientists might say, well, there's really nothing solid, it's just relative. Everything's moving, everything's changing. In fact, I've heard or read that, matter dissolves and is reconstituted, like, I don't know how many times a second. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is to find a relationship with that field and to open the experience, usually the intuitive experience that eventually maybe the analytical mind will catch up to, but we're not going to wait that long. Yeah. Because it's a long process. But to have that sense that which is called life or God or source or whatever name you want to use exists within and behind all that electromagnetic field of everything that is, let's say the macro field. And so once we start awakening to that and realizing that divine, the divine is expressing through all of creation, it's kind of like, wow, if I see an ant on the ground, am I going to step on that expression of divine life? Some people would say, oh, it's just an ant. But to someone who's looking for a relationship with divinity, it's like, no, dude, I mean, everything, my plants, my computer screen, everything, yes. Your cars, and so I'm trying to get where I'm not going to berate my car for my inability to handle it well.
Yeah.
Or to take care of it. Well, it's just
like killing bugs, right? Killing bugs and spiders and roaches and all the creepy crawlies. It's the same thing. Once you realize you have a relationship with nature, you don't feel the same desire to kill even the scary things that you don't understand.
True. And so we get to this destiny as just this mechanism that we use to refine our relationship with, instead of saying God, I'll just call it life. To refine our relationship with life, to make it a conscious experience, a conscious relationship, just like you and I have a relationship. Well, it didn't just pop out of nowhere. We spent time together and we and we put energy into it. Yeah. And so if we want a relationship with life, with the divine, then we have to feed it. We have to put energy into it. We have to have conversations, and it's like, just because we don't hear what life expresses to us, and we don't hear it analytically, but some of us hear it intuitively, but because we don't hear it through the usual senses, doesn't mean that there's not a relationship to be had. It doesn't mean that divine life isn't talking to us, communicating with us all the time. Because if we look at it, we're communicating to life all the time. Even if I'm communicating a bad day, or if I'm communicating an unpleasant relationship, or just being in awe of a sunset, that's communication. And divine life is, according to the masters, is perfectly receptive of what we're transmitting. And that being the case, everything that we think about, eventually probably we'll talk about it. It'll find a place in our belief system, and then we attract it as facets of our experience. So for me to think that if I just commit myself not to do what a religion would call a sin, who knows what it would be? I mean, it's everything, right?
Yeah.
But we say, I'm just not going to do that. And I'm going to exert my willpower so that I don't do it until the point comes where the momentum is building, and within my mind, I've already created it as a part of my reality. And so it comes to me, and doggone it if I don't do it. Right? And
so true.
And then I beat myself up because of that.
Yeah, because then you didn't really want to do it, or you feel guilty, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's the whole religious guilt trip, or the political guilt trip,
or the ego guilt trip.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
Or the ego guilt trip.
But the thing is, does life itself, does the divine actually experience any kind of negativity or any pain because I did this thing? And I have to think,
so.
No. I mean, it's like, no, that's all part of the egocentric mindset. And so destiny is just working through all the stuff, looking at what I'm thinking about, what I believe, what I expect, and what I'm talking about. And do I want to do it? And if I don't, I have to figure out, well, why don't I, and why do I want to do it? Why don't I want to do it? Why do I want?
Why do I? Yeah.
Because that's key. It's only until I can qualify a particular experience. Why is this attractive? What do I feel when I do it? It's like, and that's what different therapy is about, what meditation is about, what mantra is about. To do something that brings into my sensory awareness the troubling things of my life. Mm-hmm. Figure out where they came from, who taught me how to think like that, how to act like that, how to feel guilty about that. It's like, don't you sometimes, I don't know, it's like I was raised Catholic, so everything was supposed to be perfect.
Yes.
And so now, if I'm doing something, sometimes I'll stop before it's perfect. Or sometimes I will just go, well, let's leave a little bit of that grass uncut. That
I literally just pulled a card this morning.
Huh?
I literally just pulled a card this morning, and it said, it was the further gate card. And it said, you have to stop what you're doing and stop trying to make things perfect, because you're just spinning your wheels and moving dirt. Instead, you need to look upon the horizon, look actually out at the sky, out at the sunrise, in the horizon. And that is where you're meant to be, not just grinding and worrying and overthinking. And, that's why I was curious to talk to you, because it's like, okay, if our destiny is, let's say it's predetermined. Do you believe in predetermined destiny, first of all?
Yeah, in a manner of speaking.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about that. But let's say, me and God figured it out, or me and life figured it out before I came in and reincarnated into Lillian, into this body with these, traits. And let's say I do spend my life worrying, anxiety, trying to make things perfect, right? Because I was also raised in a very religious family, right? So let's say I'm spinning my wheels, just being anxious and worrying and trying to make everybody happy around me and everybody perfect. Am I really going to fulfill my destiny anyway? Like, do we all fulfill our destiny anyway? Or is our destiny meant for us to rise above all of that ego mind trip, raised by, rules and regulations, are we supposed to, or is that our destiny to just literally rise from that and evolve from that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in magnetism, as long as something has a charge, it's going to find its polarizing point. So if I'm thinking something, if I'm creating and causing the attraction, as long as I stay on that path, I'm going to attract it until I fulfill the destiny of solving that situation. I think the destiny is what we come in to work with. Because, we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses.
Yeah.
We've talked about, light bodies and yogic numerology and all of that. Typically there are probably at least a couple of things that always challenge us. There are a couple of things that are easy for us, and that we can figure out if we investigate. Okay, my destiny is what? Am I a healer? Am I a schmuck? Am I destined to be a schmuck the rest of this lifetime? And we know people like that. But the key, I think, to working with the destiny is finding a relationship with divine life. And just like, if someone is having a problem and you're a therapist and you say, hey, I can help you with a lot of problems, how can I assist? Then people are going to work with you and together discover what are the facets of the problem and how can I work with that? And meditation is about, well, let's just take that to divine life expressing, or take it to the divine wisdom available as, let's say, as Guru Dev, divine wisdom, or Ong as universal creative intelligence in action, and say, hey, part of my conversation is going to be, hey, this is my problem. I act this way when these situations come into my sensory experience. How can I deal with that? It's like people that seriously meditate and connect in a relationship with divine life depend on divine life and the intuitive arena for information to come in. It's like pranayam. We're looking for prana to come in to ourselves as an environment, and prana comes in as energy that brings us nutrients and wisdom that we need, but it also helps to clear out the byproducts of our life that we no longer need. And it's up to us to decide, do I need this situation, or is it something that I don't need, that I can meditate to find out, why do I think I need this? We don't think I need to get angry because somebody said this word to me. It's just part of our programming. Yeah. And so we just have to continually look at the program and figure out, okay, do I need this, or what would it be like? Don't I desire a life without that? And can I just depend on divine life, divine guru, to just show me how to deal with it? And we've all had instances like that, where like that's part of awakening in the dark night of the soul, and just finally surrendering and say, I totally give up. I have been wrestling with this my whole life to this point. And if I have to go on any longer with this situation, I don't want to do it.
I'm seriously, like, there. And sometimes I wonder if I'm in the dark night of the soul, because I've just been like in this spot, where I've revamped my whole business. I'm back in school. I've never been in this spot again. Just moved my daughter away to Nashville. Have one child left in the house when we had 5 children in the house. And it's like re-looking at everything in my life, everything, really looking at it like you're saying, not just being like, oh, I'm going to lunch today, or oh, I'm going for a workout today. It's like, no, why am I working out? Okay, why am I going to lunch? Who am I going to lunch with? Am I even enjoying these conversations? I'm almost to the point where I look at everything. I might be at lookout burnout. But also I know if I stop, then I'm not really going to fulfill my destiny. Because we're meant to question and look at feelings and emotions and what drives us to do this and what drives us to do that. And I think one of the thing that's speaking to me right now, and maybe you could relate this to destiny because I'm not that far down my journey, is I'm reading the Tao, and it's like desire nothing. Desire nothing. It's like one of his 4 principles. That's just, or I call it his, because it's in a male voice. Like all the audiobooks and even my book is interpreted by a male, even though the Tao is not male.
Right.
But for some reason it comes in as a male voice. And I do learn well from male teachers, so maybe that's it. But one of them is desire nothing. So I've really been looking at this. Like, okay, I have a desire to learn from you and to learn about destiny. I have a desire to, make a living and save money and retire, right? Or I'm not going to retire, but, for retirement, for my non-retirement. I've already decided I'm never retiring. So, desire newer cars, newer houses, all that I can work with. But like the inner desires, of desiring your kids to have a good life, or desiring your kids to be safe, or desiring your, food to be fresh. And how are we supposed to like have no desires, but then also live in our destiny? And then is that part of our destiny to have no desires, and then we have no goals and we make no money and then we're poor? I mean, it does get a little confusing when you really dig into some of the concepts that they write about in ancient times.
Yeah. Well, that the whole circle of desire thing is, I don't want to bad math the Tao. I don't want to bad math Catholicism.
I don't want you to get struck down by lightning either.
Is that when you look at the cosmos, universal creative intelligence is always expressing, always expanding, always creating.
Yeah.
And we are creations of that creative energy, and so that quality, I think, is baked in to our psyche.
I think always expanding and
always expanding, always creating.
Yeah.
Now the thing of it is, I think we could work through. I need a new car every year, or
I need a bigger house.
Or I need a better mate, or a better job, things like that.
Yeah.
But when I think about that, it brings me back to the yogis that are saying, don't worry about the gifts that you're seeking. The more fulfilling path is to have a relationship with the giver, that which creates. And I think as long as we're breathing, as long as we're in this realm here, or probably even the more etheric realms, we're always going to be creating. We're always going to be experiencing, because that will lead us to this incremental and unavoidable ascension process that will lead us to be absorbed into infinity, into divine light.
Yeah.
And so while we're in a body, and while there are desires, and while there are challenges, I think the ultimate challenge is to be able to be in any circumstance, and in relation to that circumstance, be able to experience the giving of unconditional love. If there's one thing that describes life or the divine, it's the expression of love. And we find our fulfillment when we're able to do that to whatever extent is possible for us. It's what we all want. It's like when you look at your children and you look at your parents, it's like from every angle, people just want to be loved for themselves, regardless of what they look like, whatever they do, and beyond circumstances. And our analytical mind, and we have been taught that if we act the right way, God will love us. And if we don't, God will visit punishment upon us. And it's like, I subscribe to the teaching that that's not true. Yeah. That's made up.
Me too.
And so yeah.
It's just so interesting, though. Like we were raised to speak out of one side, our unconditional love, and then the other side, there's all these rules around love and how you love, and I think that's part of our destiny too, is to really try and see how we want to be loved. But I can tell you, I'm a very loyal person, but my husband and I have a joke. It's like, okay, I keep the gate open, like let the unicorn out, keep the gate open. But like, what does that really mean? It's like, was I trapped in some dungeon in my past life? And, now I'm going to feel trapped no matter what, or is that the ego saying there's so many rules around here, like you love to be loved. And yes, you can love unconditionally, but there's so many like generational rules and expectations. And I don't know, I think part of my destiny, and I don't know about yours, but is to even figure out how to love without all those rules and regulations. It's like, okay, well, yes, I love my kids, but a lot of people don't love their kids.
Well, yeah.
I've been fortunate that, Source gave me, ones that I do love.
Yeah, and that's a big blessing right there.
Very thankful for that. But, so I think that's a whole nother topic too. But how does it apply to our destiny? I mean, if we're supposed to learn how to unconditionally love, but we're always surrounded by rules and expectations and marriages and contracts and this and that, I mean, how are we supposed to work with all that within our destiny?
Well, there are a couple of meditations that I'll cycle through every once in a while in different classes, and one is conquering self-animosity, and the companion one is building the caliber for self-authority. And so all the judgments that we've been taught to subscribe to if we look at them closely enough, every rule that's imposed, we look at, well, how does it feel when I follow the rule? How does it feel when I break the rule? And what are the consequences for myself or for my community? And, we make rules for a reason, but I think ultimately for the yogini and yogi, you really, if you're watching what you're doing, you really don't need any rules. All you need is just, it's like that Buddhist mantra, may all beings be happy and free. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, right? And it was interesting. I got to spend some time with Deva Premal and Miten a couple of 3 weeks ago, and they were doing the Gayatri meditation, 108 repetitions, for like the first 7 days of the new year. And they would end with that mantra, and Miten was joking, and he says, may all beings be happy and free, except for those people I don't like. And then he said, whoa, for the Akashic record, I was just kidding.
Right.
Right. But that's the thing. We have to figure out why do I want to draw the line for some people? And even more importantly, why do I want to draw that line for myself? Because when I act a certain way, I expect not to be, or I experience not being happy and not being free. And so I have to look at all the rules and go, well, is that a good one? And if it's a good one, I say, well, why is it a problem for me to live with that within those parameters? And then I'll find the reason why. Well, I wasn't treated like that when I was growing up, when I was learning how to get along in this world. And so as a consequence, I developed this self-animosity. And if we look at our lives, if each person would just look at their lives, and when is it that you want to kick your own butt? Yeah. When is it do you call yourself stupid or an idiot or a sinner or whatever label you want to apply, and go, well, where did that come from? And why is it a problem? And that's part of the destiny. I have to figure out why these things are a problem. Because, hey, like you alluded to, it could come from a whole nother lifetime of being in a dungeon or being persecuted because you happen to be an intuitive or not subscribe to, this national order or community order, which happened to be corrupted in some way. And so the idea is, okay, if I'm basing my behavior from something that's coming outside me, why am I doing that? And can I do a workaround with that just by investigating unconditional love? Like a lot of rules, if I just help somebody else's day be a little bit better in the moment that we interact, chances are good, nice things will come of that.
Yeah, I love that. That's the easiest part, I think. Just do something else nice for somebody else. And it's easier than focusing on yourself anyway.
Yeah. And can I do that for people that are a challenge for me to be around?
Yeah, which is, kind of what I'm going through with my daughter right now. I mean, it's just like, it's a challenge. She's doing the exact opposite of what our contract was.
Yeah.
The exact opposite. And it was like, what am I going to do with this? After I lost my shit, of course. But yeah. Then I had to really look at myself like, okay, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to love her through this? What boundaries am I going to have to set for me? And, just trying to figure out like, okay, well, And then, of course, I don't know how you feel about this, but I go to oracle cards, and I do a lot of, not a lot of astrology, but I go to oracle cards and astrology and I went to my love cards, which are also astrology based. And I just looked up her card. I looked up my card. I looked up our past lives together. I looked up what our contracts were going to be like in this lifetime. And it just kind of helps soothe my soul, since I don't have someone, I have people I can talk to in the outerly realms, but I'm just saying, like, something concrete. I think that's the hardest part about the destiny. It's like, for me, I know that I'm alive and well and healthy, so I'm meant to be here, right? So that's my confirmation that I am fulfilling my destiny, right? My kids are alive, healthy, and well. They're supposed to be here right now, instead of working on the other side, helping us, right? So then I think for me, the block is I need something material. I need words, a book, you today on the podcast, like something concrete to confirm the destiny. Is that so unrealistic to do? And is that even, that's comforting to me. And it takes away my anxiety like that. And it brings like this peace, like, ooh, okay, I'm supposed to have a little bit of back and forth with, my daughter, because she's this and I'm that. And, right now with the new moon, okay, we should be feeling this. But is that how do you, make friends with your destiny when you're, struggling through these things, these human factors?
Yeah. Well, it's like in you describing that situation, the response that came to me is, okay, what's important about the contract? What's the contract about? Okay. And the contract is going to be, well, if we both live by this contract, which we have supposedly agreed to.
We had, right, we did.
Then what happens if we don't?
Right. Exactly. So, okay, the contract blew up because she said yes and I said yes, and then she said no, but without telling me, right? Which happens all the time in relationships. All the time. It's like you go in with a contract and then someone changes the contract. I could change a contract right now if I wanted to. Right?
Well, sure. Yeah.
I could be like, well, I'm stopped cooking for the family and we're just going to start eating out all the time. And y'all are on your own. I'm busy. I mean, I could change the contract immediately.
Yeah. And but then you look at what happens if I do, right? And I don't know the details of the contract in question, but just by the definition, a contract is a contradiction to unconditional love, for one, and two, sometimes we agree to a contract not because we agree with the contract, but just because not agreeing would not be pleasant.
This is so good. I mean, you just like really struck a chord. We got to repeat that. Okay, so you said in a contract, just even having a contract is going against unconditional love.
Or it's predicating that, okay, unconditional love as long as the contract is being honored, and if it's not, unconditional love is no longer in play, right? And the thing of it is, I have contracts with people, and I had contracts growing up, and I've had them imposed on me, and I didn't get a chance to say I agree or not agree, but I went along with it because I needed the security of the relationship.
Ooh, and so that's another big point. So did did you feel like you had those contracts as a child or more of like an adult contract? Because that's another amazing point.
Yeah, and it's both. We carry the contracts with us, and that's why a lot of people go through the thing of, okay, I'm going to talk to the person I had a contract with and agree to nullify it and say you're free from your end of the contract as long as I'm free from my end of it, and just kind of dissolve that manufactured bond that it serves me for a while, but deep down I'm going, this contract is BS. It's like, it's not me. And so with children and parents, the child, whether there's a degree of rebellion in working through that contract or not, is just as, I got to do this, or I want to keep that person happy, even though I don't really agree. I'll just say, yeah, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Which I think happens like in everyday life.
Oh, for sure.
But just not even with kids, just like adults. Just like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. That sounds good. That's a contract.
Yes. Yeah. The contract that, in work, I'm going to write this report up every month and I'm going to send it in.
Yeah.
And you don't do it, and they say, "Hey, where's the report? Oh, you didn't get it, right? Damn, I worked through it. Let me see. Maybe I didn't click send on the email or something. We just lie because we don't want the consequence of saying, well, that's a stupid report anyway. If we had an honest conversation, we'll say, how much of that do you really need, and why do you need it? And if I don't want to do it, maybe I don't work for you anymore.
Yeah.
Or maybe, maybe my mom is never going to be happy with me because, and it's, but there are, we don't understand, especially with parents and children don't understand why the parent needs that contract. It's like, well, if you do this, then you're going to go to jail, and they either have to bail you out or hire a lawyer or ignore your pain while you're in jail, or there's all kinds of stuff like that. And so you just go, can't you just take care of yourself? I'm just trying to teach you how to take care of yourself in this world. My parents did that, even though the world was, the rules were just like, I'm sorry, I didn't sign up for this when I agreed to be born.
You didn't sign up for this, but that's part of your destiny, right?
But here I am. Yeah, and it is. And if we just recognize with one another that we're just helping each other work through our destiny, whatever it may be.
So how do we get like super clear on like what our destiny is?
I don't know if we ever get well, the destiny is always to have a conscious relationship with Source.
Okay.
I mean, that's the ultimate destiny. And in between, it's like I've used, yogic numerology to determine what are challenges, what are gifts, what and what circumstances do you need to realize to be fulfilled in your life? There are astrology figures it out, yogic numerology figures it out, Vedic astrology, they all figure it out.
Yeah, they do.
Usually mathematically, right?
Right.
And so we can do that, and just realizing, just as long as I can realize what my challenges are, I know, it's like mine, it would be maintaining, discipline over my physical characteristics and and being subtly sensitive to, do I have a BS meter? Is it in play? And do I, I mean, those are things that that I've been dealing with my whole life, and gifts are, hey, you can do whatever you want to do, just find some way to use your talents to meet the needs of any given situation. And and also that, the power of staying positive in my thinking and my beliefs and expectations, there's a way I have a knack to do that. So once we figure out some way, yeah, we can look at just our experience and figure out, where do I always fall into a trap of being unhappy or engaging in self-animosity. It's like, as soon as I start cursing at myself or cursing at something,
I'm off track.
There's my destiny right there. Figure
Look
it
at
out.
that.
I've had 78 years to figure it out, and I haven't figured it all out yet.
You're not even 50. Come on, Siri. That's funny.
But that's the. I think that's the crux of the matter. Is just like, we have to figure out how to solve our idiosyncrasies, and we build our personality around all that stuff.
Yeah, and we're constantly trying to, in order to fulfill our destiny, we need to look at our idiosyncrasies, like you said, and our struggles and our, whatever has been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. And yes. Sometimes it gets old doing that.
Oh, well, for sure.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, we're trying to use the analytical mind to solve those situations. And, the analytical mind is very tricky, very persuasive, very distracting. It will never stay on track to disable certain of its functions.
Yeah.
Or to see through the wisdom of behind those functions.
Yeah, because it'll always just take over.
Okay. It will.
But tell us, this is the perfect way for you to tell us about Shunya. So, to get out of the analytical mind, right? To get out of the whatever loop we're in, right? The loop of making money, or, the loop of being sick, or the loop of being negative, or the loop of fighting with your friends, your spouse, your kids. Like, that loop takes so much effort to get out of and to create a more positive loop. So how can Shunya, tell us about Shunya, and how can that really help us, break some of those, patterns that keep us in our funk?
Right. Well, Shunya is the polarity of the outer analytical realm. It's that intuitive end of a polarized mind. We take our sensory data that comes to us through our senses that are conveyed by the nervous system into the brain, and the brain feeds those impulses to the mind, and then the mind will communicate that to us as presence. So essentially we are presence with a mind that takes information from the central nervous system, which gets its information from the peripheral nervous system, which gets its information from our senses. It's like we recognize 5 senses, but I was reading an article about Victor Wembanyama, the basketball player, and this article said that he engages in three other senses that are different, that extend beyond seeing, feeling, hearing, touching, and smelling. And one of them was the sensation of your position, like where your body is. Another one is pain, and I forget what the other one was. And so he's figured out how to control pain and use it as a sense, and not be subject to it. And different yogis do the same thing. It's like Guru Charan, he'll go to the dentist and not use any Novocaine or anything. He just has figured out, okay, how do I deal with that sensation?
I love that.
But in terms of Shunya, the idea with Shunya is to realize our intuitive nature as well as our analytical nature, and not to necessarily have like biblical trust in our physical senses, because every step along the transmission of that energy is just like you whisper secrets around a circle. A secret starts here and goes around, and by the time it comes back, it's totally different. Well, It's the same thing with the senses going through the nervous system. Is the nervous system balanced? Is it like sympathetic and parasympathetic? Are they working? Is the central nervous system working and picking up the signals from the peripheral nervous system? Is the brain healthy? Is the brain chemistry healthy? Is your mind healthy? It's like in investigating the mind, there are so many facets and permutations between functions and whatnot. The mind can interpret one sensation 81 different ways, and more than that, right? And so then the mind then transmits to the ourselves as presence, and okay, how is the balance of all of these tools that we use as presence? How does it feed me information? Is it verifiable? And most of the time, it's not. Especially it's not when we're using someone else's rules to make things acceptable or not acceptable. Mm-hmm. And so the meditative process is to let the body relax, let the mind relax, and then tune in as presence into the into a lighter realm, into a non-physical realm. And Shunya is known as the space where we can notice without judgment. Okay, if you and I are having a discussion and we happen to not agree on something, can I just listen to you and not judge you or not try to correct you, but just go, okay, I'm going to, for this moment in my life, be neutral, even though something you may say triggers me to go, oh, no, that can't be right. I'll just go, for the sake of this conversation and to hold space, I'm not going to react. And as soon as I do that, our situation changes. Our dynamic changes. You might have been expecting me to object and give you the correct way of looking at your situation.
Yes.
Right?
See, I'm going to take these tools and use them today in my conversation with my daughter. These are good. So Shunya, no judgment, no reaction, also no triggering.
Right.
Like, no nothing.
Right. Yeah. And it's like people know when you're listening to them, and they know when you're judging them and when you're not judging them. Yeah. And you go, dear, it's like, no matter how this conversation goes or ends, I love you. I want the best for you, and not my best for you, but your best for you. And so Shunya is known as that 0 point field where polarities can exist within that neutrality and come together like an algebraic equation. The equal sign in an algebraic equation is that space of Shunya. It says everything on this side equals everything on that side. Mm-hmm. One of them is going to be negative, the other one is going to be positive. And then when they come together, they form a whole. And they attract each other. What we like to do is turn that magnetic thing around and repel. I want to repel any idea I don't agree with. Okay. When in fact, it would serve me better. I don't want to say I should. It would serve me better to allow them both to be attracted to one another so that I can see daytime, nighttime. And when they come together, I'm going, oh, that's wonderful. Or a cold front and a warm front, or high pressure system and a low pressure system. And the process of coming together creates a lot of wind, a lot of storms, a lot of this, a lot of that. But when they finally come together, there's this equalization. Yeah. There's a metabolic balance.
And it creates nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
It literally creates nothing. And we can see that with our hurricanes down here. We have our storm in the Gulf coming, and then we have a high pressure system coming up, and the high and the low meet. And guess what? Everybody's enjoying a sunny day with no hurricane.
Yeah.
It really is. I think there's a lot of Shunya going on all day, every day.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so the thing with Shunya and that non-judgmental noticing, it brings us automatically, if we know how to cue up that experience, it brings us into an experience of divine life, of the love that holds everything regardless of its polarization. And that the sickness in the world and the sickness in this country is all about the polarization, that in order to be okay, these things need to be in place, and anything other than that needs to be deported. And it's not going to work. It never did, it never has, it never will. And so the idea is, and we know when we're in community, like before I ask anybody what their politics are, what their religion is, something will happen where we find a common ground, like, oh yeah, let's share a meal, or let's do this, or let's make some music.
Yes.
And it isn't until we impose holding this polarity and rejecting that one that we have problems. And so that process of Shunya, also known as the 0 point field, it creates a field where everything can be held in zero attraction and repulsion. And that's where the Taoists would say, eliminate desire. Mm-hmm. But
are they talking about Shunya?
Yeah, are they talking about Shunya?
Are they talking about Shunya?
Or are they talking about just like eliminating one side of the polarity?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you can't, I don't think you can successfully hold that long term. We have to desire stuff. It's like divine gives us the ability to formulate a blueprint for creativity, and
go for it.
If it were the case that desire was bad, then there would not be a 3D place to, life would not exist.
Yeah, I think
it
so
would just
too.
It would be total equilibrium.
And it kind of feels a little flat, like since it's only been like, a week since I've been really reading that and kind of digesting what that means. And it almost feels like an off switch, where I'm like, that's weird. Because then I'm reading this book right now. Well, I'm auto reading the book, The Art of Spending. And, and first it was The Psychology of Money. And then his second book is called The Art of Spending. And it was kind of funny because my brother gave my 12-year-old the book, The Psychology of Money, which I thought was interesting.
Wow.
I know.
Uh-huh.
So, of course, I pick up the book and then I download it on my Spotify and I listen to the book. Jules and I listened to the book as we moved her. So we just like powerhouse that book in 7 hours. And we learned a lot. So I'm on the second one, The Art of Spending. And he says in the very first chapter, he said, our brain is addicted to dopamine. That's it. That's it. That's where everything comes from. That's where your shopping comes from, your need for more comes from, and your brain is always looking for dopamine. It's not necessarily looking for a big house and a car and clothes. Your brain doesn't care about material things. It's looking for the dopamine. So for different people, the dopamine is different. For some people, it is the house and the car and the clothes. Other people, it's, classes, certification, education. And so between that and the Tao of saying desiring nothing, I'm just like, this is such a weird spot to be in. Like, is that what destiny's trying to teach me? Just to completely be content, have zero. What is zero? Where is the, do we need this polarity in our lives to give us life? Like you said, it's like we need that polarity to give us life, to give us dreams. Or is it really just a dopamine issue? Or is it that, we like chaos and we like conflict and we like polarity. There's so many good stuff going on, but then when I freak out and it's too much information overload, I do just have to go back to zero, which is Shunya.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think Shunya also produces dopamine.
Oh, and why do you think that is? Because it just feels so good to be in there, zen.
Because it's fulfilling to an extent. It's like we've started this immersion session at the yoga studio where we're doing Gayatri mantra for at least 11 minutes every day for 40 days, just to develop that experience. And what I'm finding with that mantra is that just creating it, one is really satisfying, but two, it keeps coming back across the day or the night, and depending how I do it, if I can do it singing it, or I can do it chanting it, doing it mostly a monotone and just keep winding it out, because it might take 40 seconds to sing it. It would take 10 seconds to chant it, and so. That's what David and Miten were doing 108 times, from the 1st to the 7th of January. And so then I'm going, well, why stop at January 7th? Just keep going.
Yeah.
And so other people that are doing, we get together every Friday and go, okay, what went well? What's been a challenge? And we discuss various facets of the mantra, what it means, and our experience with it. And when you start talking about dopamine, I'm going, yeah, it's like creating that mantra creates the space of Shunya, because you go, hey, I don't know if I'm on repetition number 10 or 65 or 99. I don't know. But after a while, it doesn't matter. I'm just counting the beads, or I'm just going, okay, I'm going to start it when I'm in Austin, and I'll finish it when I arrive in Bastrop.
Yeah.
So it's like 30 miles or something. And I just, I think it cues up, essentially the mantra asks Om to use the light of Savitri, or of the sun, or of the great central sun, to come into the realm of my body, my mind, and my spirit, to clear my intellect of anything that it doesn't need. And so it's like, mantras are so cool because they are, they're sound formulas that work to clear the body. And some of them are for this, some are for that, some for health, some for prosperity, whatever. But, you do them, and the idea that it takes you into that 0 point field where you get to experience this little tiny iota of divine life, which is like so infinite, you couldn't possibly manage the experience where we are. But, and so I didn't think about it as being a substitute for buying stuff. Because, we all love to buy stuff. It's like something new.
Yeah, something new. And that's what the something new, the brain tells you just need some kind of dopamine hit. So that's why it's different for everybody. I'll get just as excited about seeing, I don't know, it doesn't have to be like substantial. It can just be something new. It's like, but yeah, the meditation gives me the same satisfaction. It is a dopamine. I like that you said that. It is a dopamine hit.
Yeah.
instead of racking out my budget at the store.
Well, yeah, and so some people will look at the dopamine principle and go, yeah, there's something wrong with me needing a new shirt in order to get this feeling of satisfaction from my brain, and so we'll just say, okay, I'll just put off getting that new shirt. It doesn't produce dopamine, and it doesn't bring me anything other than an experience of delayed gratification. But if I go, I started working. Somebody gave me these discs of. It was a program. It's called. Anyway, it was how to manifest your wish is your command was the name of the series, and it's what all the elite and all the people that have mastered how to get along in this world use these principles to clear the space where they can create what they need to create. And so one of the exercises was, well, figure out what you need and then apply all of this technology to getting what you want. And so I was going, okay, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? It's like thinking about this, thinking about that. Do I want that enough to do this? And then eventually I realized, well, no, I don't want a car. I don't want another job. I don't want this. I just want a relationship with divine life, right? And so that is the end. It's like if I get a new car, it'll be just a matter of time before I want another one.
Exactly.
So the sublimating it or refining it to, okay, I want to know what the truth of existence is and how divine life operates the universe. And setting that as a goal and applying the principles of the thing made more sense to me. And so I forget
what all
that. Yeah. And so that's like the ultimate dopamine hit. And it makes no sense to resist the fulfillment of our desires that we attribute to that catalyze dopamine hit. We just have to go, do I really want that? And if I could have something better, what would it be? And then when you figure that out, okay, if I could have something better than that, what would it be? And save yourself a lot of time.
Yeah, well, I think that's why, going back, that's why I wanted to do the living funeral. I was like, ooh, if I could just fast forward and participate in my death and then come back, however the guided meditation works or whatever, it's just, that's what I really wanted. And I also want to see a shaman for my 50th. So that'll be fun.
Oh,
somewhere
cool.
in Peru or Mexico or somewhere on some sacred land. But, those are the dopamine hits that have just kind of changed over time, instead of being like, I need designer this or designer that. It's just like, okay, I want to meet a shaman in the woods and I want him to like look into my third eye and tell me what he sees. Tell me how effed up I am.
Well, that'll be great.
Maybe we can meet in Peru.
Yeah.
But until now, we're just going to have to meet in Shunya.
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate all of this time that you spent with us between Destiny and Shunya. And, but tell us if people have made it to the end.
Yeah.
I think you're very interesting and you have a lot of wealth and knowledge to share. So, but tell us how you want people to reach out to you or get to know you, take a class from you, listen to your music. What's out there for you?
Well, yeah, I have a website, SiriBahadur.com.
Okay, SiriBahadur.com.
Yeah, SiriBahadur.com, and I teach a Zoom class every Tuesday evening at 7:00 till around 8, maybe sometimes a little later, and for the time being, we're working with Gayatri Mantra, so we're chanting it for at least 11 minutes, probably closer to 22 or 25 minutes. We're doing it musically and then chanting, and the stuff that I'm doing at different yoga centers is on the website. That's probably the easiest way. Or people can email me at siricalset@sbcglobal.net. I'll see if I can type that in.
Okay, I'll put that in the chat box too.
Okay, yeah.
I got that one for you.
Yeah.
Okay. And if people need any more
and somebody
lessons,
reaches out and we really want to get together, texting is the best. You can share my phone number if people want to text, but because I'll miss an email, it's like there's so many come in every day.
So
I can't even check. If I don't check them every day, they just kind of stack up.
Yeah.
But I always do text, but only text me if you're interested in doing something. Don't clutter up my messages.
Yeah. Don't spam him. No spamming allowed. Okay, well, thanks, Siri Bahadur. You're the best. And I hope that our paths cross again. Because, I know you're going to teach more. We're going to have to learn more from you.
Yes. Yeah, I love it so much, spending this time with you, Lillian.
Me too. I love it. It fills my heart.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, well, have a beautiful day, and we'll talk soon.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. Please use your own discernment and seek professional care when needed.